Hey everybody, how are you? This is Jim from the Pain PT. Hope you guys are doing well today. And today we're going to talk about how to get underneath your anxiety. Get underneath your anxiety. And the reason why is because a lot of times anxiety is considered a secondary emotion or is considered a defense mechanism against another emotion, against a deeper feeling in yourself. And so when we look at psychodynamic therapy, the understanding is that this anxiety is not really a true emotion. And we know that to be true in terms of it not representing true danger or threat. Okay, so the word anxiety means not true fear. Okay, it means, yes, some hesitation, some worry, some concern, some trepidation around something else. Now, as Dr. Sarno alluded to, a lot of times we have these repressed emotions and they come out very physically. And instead of feeling them emotionally, we feel it in a physical way. Now, anxiety acts in the same way. Anxiety is very physical in your body. It gives you a lot of physical symptomatic stuff. It can make you feel palpitations. It can make you feel your stomach start churning. It can have this kind of energy to it, very fear type energy. Now, let's talk about some of the other emotions that can be sitting underneath your anxiety that you want to get to, that you want to get underneath this. Okay, so any emotion can sit underneath this surface level of anxiety. I call anxiety the surface of the ocean. You can imagine the ocean that has a lot of choppiness and waves and so forth. It's very unsettled. But as we get beneath the ocean, we go deeper, there's layers of water, layers of feelings there in ourselves. So, as an example, somebody who can use anxiety can become a default defense. Again, this is also very subconscious, guys. It's not something you're doing purposely, but it's been a program in you or a pattern from childhood and developed over time. So you can have anxiety being used as a defense against anger, very, very common. We see this in people who are conflict avoidant, people who don't like conflict, tendency to avoid conflict. As I talk to in my group and in my private sessions, avoiding the word avoid means what? Fear. Conflict means anger. So we are avoiding anger, means we're going to feel fear. We're going to feel anxious around the emotion of anger, conflict. Okay, so for example, somebody might piss you off, somebody might upset you, somebody might make you mad, but you automatically start feeling very anxious there, very uncomfortable in that situation. You want to leave. But really, what you're feeling is anger. Okay, so sometimes you have to get underneath that. That anger is coming out, it's very much there. It might be coming out in your body through a symptom at that point. Okay, and depending on how it feels, you can determine if that's anger or not. It's got that sort of sharpness to it. It's got that sort of intense tenseness to it. It's got that burning quality to it. It's got that compressed, clenched, constricted feeling to it. But it might be shrouded or covered in anxiety, which is more of this energy, the tendency to want to avoid. That might be the feeling in you on the surface. But again, if you drop beneath that, you'll realize there's a deeper emotion. And in the same way that anxiety can act as a defense against anger, it can act as a defense against other emotions like guilt and grief and things like that. So sometimes if people have a hard time being vulnerable and feeling their sadness and their grief, they don't want to feel that way, or they learn that it's not good to feel that, they may start getting anxious in a situation where they're in a vulnerable situation to feel that those feelings of sadness or grief. And in the same way with shame, which is another deeper core emotion in all of us, we may get anxious. Okay. So the brain can do this automatically. The brain can kick us into anxiety. It can kick us into even a deeper state of freeze. We could talk about that in another session. But for now, when you go into fight or flight, the flight version is the anxiety. Flight is anxiety. Okay. So you may have a deeper feeling. And you can also get anxious, and underneath the anxiety could be real fear. Could be a real fear as well. Okay, so there's usually a core, primary, deeper emotion beneath the anxiety. Anxiety is just a surface level feeling. Let's get underneath it, guys. Let's look and see what makes sense in a situation when you're maybe feeling very anxious, go deeper. What's underneath that surface level? What's deeper, the deeper emotion behind it? Okay, so you could be, again, I'll give you another example. There's lots of them. In a social situation, and you're getting very anxious around certain people. But really, what you're anxious about is not feeling the deeper feeling of shame or not being enough or feeling criticized or judged. Okay, so that's the deeper feeling. But you'll get very anxious around that to avoid that feeling. Okay, to avoid the feeling, or it'll be a cover up over the feeling because you don't want to feel that feeling. And it'll make you avoid those situations so you don't feel the feeling. Okay, so the idea, guys, is we want to feel the core feelings. Now, we do have to get through anxiety. We have to let this energy sort of dissipate so we can get to the deeper feelings. You can do this somatically. Teach this in my group classes. You can do this very intentionally by, like I said, looking for the deeper emotion, trying to express that, letting the anxiety go, calling out, hey, this is just anxiety. What's going on here? Why am I feeling this way? What's beneath it? Okay, so the anxiety is kind of like a cover, or you could say it's a fear of what? What's underneath that? It's a fear of anger, conflict. It's a fear of my own inadequacy, feelings of shame. It's a fear of this guilt. It's a fear of this grief, fear of being judged, rejected, not being enough. So you can get anxious in those situations, and you may not realize because you're only feeling this anxiety, you don't realize there's a deeper level there. There's another emotion or emotions underneath. So let's get underneath anxiety, guys. Look for it. Let me know how you're doing with this. If you need help, reach out. That's what I help people with one-on-one, or I have my group sessions going weekly, which have been very helpful for people. So you can dive in at any time in those groups and get you guys moving in the right track to heal, feel better. Okay, take care.